Welcome to this presenter stage. Hey everybody, it's me, Lakes, again, and we're scripting a lot sooner than I expected, but check this out. We've got display 1, display 2, presenter notes, and kind of like backstage presenter notes. And we got this kind of cool stage. And it's small, welcome to the small world. Yeah, so we just finished building it, and you guys are about to watch and learn how. But I wanted to show you real quick how it works. So you grab this card, you press the Y button, that's the top button on your controller, and it moves forward, or you press the back button and it moves backwards. It's clamped, so you can't go past any of the slides. So pretty cool. We've got in this bundle, so this is part of the Vidyuu Essentials bundle, you'll see there's 2 screens. You've got the 3 cards, actually. I took a duplicate of this card and moved it up front so it's easier to see while you're in here. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. What I really wanted to show you real quick is how you can add more slides to this slideshow, or how you can make them custom. So if we open up the slideshow control script, don't worry, this really isn't scripting so much. So if we scroll to the top, you're going to see add, 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 and add. And each of these lines represents a slide or the speaker notes. And if we scroll to the right, you're going to see it says slides list, notes list. The first thing I recommend you do is come here to the Essentials bundle and check out this Mega Text 3. Now, we're not using this in this instance, but what it has here is all of this information, how to do line breaks, how to do italics, bold. All of these amazing functions are listed out here, and they become incredibly valuable when you're trying to create a beautiful presentation. Like, you can even add color and emojis and like superscript and subscript and like all of this. Amazing. It's important that these are in parallel, so make sure you kind of keep these in parallel. And so right here, we have started with the like award show name, and then down here, we give some instructions on controls. Now, if you're not familiar with text, like I just said, make sure to read that so you can learn about how to use breaks. We're using plus symbols in here, which allows us to add multiple strings together, so that way it's easier to like scroll through them if we have to make any changes later. And it's already pre-set up for you, right? So you can just fill this out, and it's got double breaks already built in. And so on our next line, so for our next slide, let's say we want to say something like, please take your seats. There we go. But I want this to have that same look, right? Like, I really like the dashed lines up there. So let's put this in the center. So now that please take your seats in the center, this is empty. So we need to fill that out. And when I was looking at the dashed dots, I really felt like they should be more of them. So let's go space, dash, space, dash, space, lots of dashes. And now that I've got that, I want them to be even. So I select this, and then while hovering over this one, see how it's highlighted? Now it's not, now it is. We can thumbstick to the right, which is going to allow us to duplicate it in there. And then we'll drop it into the A slot over here and drop it into this period right here. And now we have created the next slide, but we also need a presenter note slide. We could leave it with this just dot, 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 but I recommend we continue using this controls, right? So here's how to use the remote control. Let's go ahead and put this right here. And like that, we have this one, which we don't need anymore, so we could delete it. But now that I'm thinking about it, maybe it would be best if I said what's coming up next, right? Maybe because this is please take your seats, we know we're going to get started. So let's give the presenter notes some actual customness here and say next up. And I believe I'm like the first person up. So I think it's Lakes05. I'm going to go look at my notes after this and go actually like spend an hour building my slideshow. And it's like that, we've got it, and we don't need to put anything there, so I can just backspace the period, and I'm done with my next slide. And if I'm ready to create my next slideshow, we can duplicate this please take your seats down here, and then grab my next up. And I know next after Lakes is Oculus, and so I can go put him in. And I'm actually going to put in a lot more detailed notes because we've got like a few like lines that we've prepared and some other stuff like that. And so with this, we can actually go try this out real quick because we've set this up. I do recommend stop resetting the world between these. It just is nice to start fresh just in case there might have been some bug if you don't. Now we grab our speaker notes here, putting it real close to my face. Now I can press the forward button and you'll see it now says please take your seats. This says how to use remote control still, which is inch. Oh, this says this only says this because this one isn't plugged in. Only these 2 are plugged in. So here you can see the presenter notes and it says next up Lakes. Nice. We'll let go of that one. And then if we click again, and there it says Oculus 410, still says please take your seats because I just duplicated it. And then we can go backwards as well and continue back to the beginning. Very nice. Cool stuff. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And let's go build this script now. Woo! The video just posted for the 2022 Vidyuu Awards show, so if you haven't seen it, go check it out right now. It's on the Vidyuu Nights channel, and because I worked so hard on that, I realized there was kind of a bug, and that's why I really wanted to share this with you right now. So when you open up this thing here, and you're typing into here, basically you start getting really bad lag spikes the more of these lines you add. And so what I ended up doing was coming over to my variables tab and starting to just create string variables, because you can type a string variable very easy. And so you can give this a simple number, or you can define what it is. So in this case, I'm going to do a double break. So we'll call it DBLBRK, and then click confirm. And then I can type in what it is, and it's a double break. And I think it's these codes. Honestly, I think that might be what's causing it, or maybe it's just too much. So anyway, you just kind of come in here and you can replace the lines or fill out the lines as you see fit. And so feel free to, you could type in exactly what you want it to say. And in this case, obviously I just filled it out with these double breaks. And then I could come over here and create a new variable called string. And if you're really uncreative like me, just type in like the number 1 and then click confirm. And then you can type in here and say, this is a string. I should have typed hello world. I know, shame on me. And then you can just drag this over and place it into whichever of these slots you want it to be in. And like that. Okay, so hopefully that helps you guys out. And if you have any questions, again, don't hesitate to ask. This asset is being added right now. So by the time this video has come out, you're going to have access to both the elevator and the slideshow scripts. So enjoy, and thank you guys so much. So what we're building today as part of the Essentials bundle is going to be a PowerPoint style display. Now, it won't be PowerPoint. It's going to be a slideshow, right? So we're going to have slides. They're going to be text-based slides, and you're going to be able to have a clicker to select through them. Now, I haven't built the clicker yet, but that should be pretty simple to put together. But I did build the note cards and these displays, just really simple snapping here. You can see all put together quite fast. So very awesome. But first and foremost, if you haven't been added to the Essentials bundle, don't forget to leave your Oculus username in the comments and we will add you. There's no cost to this. You can support us on Patreon if you'd like, so we can continue doing this. But yeah, without further ado, let's start scripting this. Okay, so the first thing we need to think about is, how does this all work? Well, what's going to happen here is that we have 4 text displays, and they're more or less identical. So this display is going to be identical to this display, and this display is going to be identical to this display. And so with that, we just need to create a script with 4 text references, and this is going to be on a control object, where they're going to have 2 remote controls, and these remote controls are going to be able to send notifications to the controller to advance slides and then go back slides. I was thinking about putting in a reset, but I've kind of decided against it because I don't want someone to accidentally come on stage and accidentally reset. You're just going to have to mash the buttons. And so the upper button on your controller will be forward and the bottom one will be backwards, and pretty straightforward. Now with that, you might be wondering, how is this going to be easy? But I have a feeling we're going to have this script done in under 15 minutes if I keep it pretty straightforward and easy. I am going to do a little bit editing this video. It's going to be mostly raw though, so you should be able to follow along quite easily. And I hope you like the format. It's just so much easier to get up, and hopefully helps you guys out too. So first things first, we're going to go to our Gizmos tab and pull out a script block. Fabulous. And from here, let's go name this. This is going to be our control, but it's a slide controller. So slide control. Now I feel like that might be too generic, so let's call it slideshow control. There we go, slideshow control. And when world is started, it's going to be extremely useful. So I'm going to leave it here. This is how we're going to add our slides and keep them in order. And I'll explain that in a little bit, but let's start with some variables. All those variables we had just talked about. So let's go add object reference variables to our text objects. So we're going to have slides. So slide 1, and we'll call this text. Slide 1 text, new object, slide. And if you want more displays, it's honestly pretty much just this easy to add. Like, it really is just creating a new variable and then duplicating the singular line that's used. Okay, awesome. So we got our 4 text object references. And then we also need, well, we don't actually have to reference the remote controls. The remote controls are actually just going to send notifications to our controller, and our controller is going to say, okay, I'm at this position in the slideshow. Can I advance? If I can, then it advances. Pretty straightforward logic operation there. And same for going backwards. But we do need a couple variables to represent the strings that we're displaying. And the way this is going to work is these are going to be lists. And so we need to check the list option. And this one is going to be called the slide list. And then we're going to do one called, so same thing, another string. And this one is going to be called the presenter, so the notes list. Perfect. Okay. And also make it a list, confirm. And so what we're going to do when the world starts, simply go over here to our operators tab, scroll all the way to the bottom, and we have add to list. We drag this over. Let's start by duplicating 4 of these, 2, 3, and 4. Then we're going to come on over here and grab our variables. Let's start with the slide, put that one on here, and then skip one and put it here. And then grab notes. And if you haven't duplicated before, it's simply thumbsticking to the right. So you'll see that right there next to the delete. And like that, we have slide list, notes list, slide list, notes list. So when we add our string value to this list, it becomes position 1, or position 0 really. And that means it's going to be the first slide to be shown, so the one that's shown by default. So whatever you want to put here by default, that's what you're going to put. So let's go to our values tab, scroll down to string input, there we go. And we're going to place this in all 4 of these. Okay. Let's talk about text real quick, because if you're new to creating text, this might seem maybe a little bit intimidating. And so I want to show you a bunch of really cool tricks. The first thing I recommend you do is come here to the Essentials bundle and check out this Mega Text 3. All of these amazing functions are listed out here. So we're going to be using a little bit of that today, but not a whole lot. So when we do this kind of initial, we could just use this text value here, but I'm actually going to pull this out and show you a really cool trick. If you come over here, we have the plus operator at the very top, and we can grab that plus symbol and just create a bunch of space. I don't know, that's probably too much. Let's keep it at 4. So there's 4 spaces here. We then grab our value input, and we can simply thumbstick to the right to duplicate it into the 4 slots. There we go. And so what I want this to display by default, oh, and by the way, since we like this plus symbol set, like we like having all these, and the reason we like this is so we can much easier edit something. So say this could be a line, then we could even add just like a simple break right here. And then we could take this break and duplicate it. Well, maybe we'll actually do a 5th one, right? If we're going to use breaks, so maybe we'll grab this and duplicate it there. So now it goes line, break, line, break, line. And so now we've got 3 lines on this. And if I grab it here, I can replace and duplicate into each of these slots. And so now each of our slides is going to have 3 lines. And you could even come in here and actually add a double break by doing kind of like this, which I prefer double breaks. They just look a little nicer. And then we just simply thumbstick into all these, and voila. Cool. So now we've got 3 lines to type on, and it's much easier to edit those lines. Like we don't have to back scroll through so hard. So the first thing I want to display is instructions on how to use this. And so this here is the slide. And so this slide is for the audience. And then this one is for our presenter. Okay, how to use the remote control, colon, and then the first line will be, I love tapping them, but I also love these new raycasts. Wow, this is the first time I've seen it. So, hey, look what we just discovered. So we'll just type in press Y or B to progress forward. And then we're going to duplicate this into the last slot. And this is for backwards. So we'll just type in. Wonderful. So we now have instructions. That'll be the first line. And then what else do we need? This first slide for the audience. This could be anything. I think what we should do, since tomorrow I'm putting on an award show, I'm going to say, welcome to the 2021 Vidyuu Awards Show. And these lines down here might be nice to just put in some kind of like art. Okay. It's quite a few dashes, and we'll see if we like it. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But, or actually what we could do is we could put this in the center, right? And then put this on top. So now we've got this kind of like, it's in the center. Very nice. Okay, so we've created this. Now we want to display this. And so we're not going to worry about our second set of slides yet, but we'll get to that in a second. I'll explain a little bit more about how to create them. But we need to display it on these text objects since we're pretty much, I mean, we're halfway done. Not going to lie. That was like the bulk of it. So pull out one of these cubes or triangles shapes. And we're going to attach the script that we just created, Slideshow controller. And now we need to reference these text objects. Now, unfortunately, these text objects are inside of groupings, so we do need to open up the group, zoom into the grouping, that's that button there on the far left, and then when you zoom in, we can open up the properties of the text object. Please note that if you need to change the size of the text, it does have to be done on the text object. This means that if you have, say for instance, like scaled it, it'll probably need to be resized using this option here. Okay, presenter notes 1, and so we're gonna grab this text pill and drag that into presenter notes 1. Perfect. Whew, like that, we have linked up our text. We can say this does not need to be interactive, so we'll turn motion on that off. And now let's go and move this to the top of our scripting stack. There will be another script coming into play here in the middle, but we'll come back to that later. Okay, so we got our slideshow control, it's linked in. And so now we need to display this. So when the world is started, we need to display the first items. And so let's go to when event is received, and this will be called display. And so I think what we can do is always use this exact same display event to display. So whether we're going forward or backward, we'll call the display event whenever we want to display text. So when display is received, the goal is to display text. So under actions, we'll find display text. We're going to want 2 of these, and we'll duplicate them in a second to get the opposing copies. So we'll start with notes 1 and slide 1. And I think we're doing it the opposite order. We're going to go slides, then text. It's just for my brain. These don't need to be in this order, but having it this way, it's like, okay, so I always do slides first, then notes. Slides, then notes. Just makes it a lot easier in the long run when you're working on stuff like this. Now, we don't want to display this value input, so I'm going to delete these out of here. What we want to display is an iterator value. That's not exactly what I mean, but let me explain it a little bit better in a second. So let's go to our new variable, and we're going to start with this, and this is going to be called current slide. In fact, we might even call it start slide, because that's where it starts, right? So we want it to start on slide 0. That makes sense. And so it always start at the beginning. But if you wanted to start it in the middle or even at the end, you could totally do that by changing this number to be whatever number it is that you're starting at. Please note that it starts at 0, so number 1 is actually the second slide. Okay, so with that, we then need to get the input or the information. So if you scroll to the bottom and grab our list information, we can get item from list. We drag that into both of these, and then come on back over here. We need start slide, that goes in the numbers position. And then that's from the list, and we've got slide list, and we have notes list. And like that, we are done with our display. So at the world start, we do want to call this event. So we update the display. So when world is started, we want to send event to self. So we grab that send event, and then we'll grab the display event to self. And that should actually be updating. Oh, but what I need to do is duplicate this so it updates on both of them. So you just grab and then thumbstick to the right to duplicate. Back on our variables tab, we'll grab slide text 2. Voila, and notes text 2. And like that, wow, it's already working. Welcome to the 2021 Vidyuu Awards show. Nice. The dashes aren't even that bad. They look kind of cool. I'd add a few more actually, so let's do that. Our notes, how to use the remote control. Press Y or B to progress forward, press X or A to progress backward, and you can grab this if you need it to be close. This is awesome. In fact, we could actually make these note cards the controllers, now that I think about it. Like, if we want to talk from an efficiency standpoint, always using less grabbable objects is going to save you a lot of space. So since this card is going to be held by the presenter, and it's nice because it snaps back into this position, we can then have a forward and back on it. Oh, I love this. This is so great. Like, I mean, seriously, this is so great. I didn't expect it to be this easy. Not gonna lie, like, this has been a pretty easy script so far. So the last thing we need to do is create events for when we progress forward and progress backward. So if we go down here, we want to do when event is received, and we're going to put these above display because these events represent events that trigger display. So I'm putting display at the bottom. Again, this doesn't actually matter. This is literally just for my brain because my brain functions better when things are in kind of a chronological type of order. So what events are this? We're going to have the event, this one will be called forward, confirm, and this one will be called backward. Wonderful. So we've got our forward and backward events. These are going to be nearly identical because what they do is move forward and backwards. And all wonder, do you know how easy this is? Oh my gosh. I'm sorry if this is difficult for you and you're just getting started. I have some intro to scripting videos. I will link that here and in the description. But like, this is relatively simple because all we have to do to press forward is literally take this start slide number, plug it into here, plug it into there, and then add the number value 1. And so we come down here, grab number input of 1. So this progresses us 1 slide forward at a time. And then we're going to duplicate this into the backward event, except we need it to be minus. So we grab the minus symbol, place that here, and then duplicate this down, duplicate that down. And then we grab our send display to self, put that right here after that number has been changed. And we're done with this script. There is one really important change that I just realized. This does technically function, but if you go outside the bounds of the list length, you're going to get an error that could break this script. And so to fix that, what we do is clamp it. And so clamp is considered maybe more of an advanced idea, but it's really easy to use. So if this is your first time seeing clamp, please don't be afraid of it. It's so simple. Let me show you. Basically, you input a value. And so the value is this value right here. So we're adding this together. That's the value we're using. We then need to tell it what is the minimum and the maximum. And so we know the minimum is 0, right? So you can go to slide 0. Slide 0 is the first slide. The maximum is the length of the list. So if we go down here to the bottom, and we know that both of our lists are in parallel, so they should be the exact same length. So we'll grab length of list, and we'll just use the slide list for this. But if these lists ever weren't parallel, we'd have an issue. So I'm going to tell you a few quick tricks on how you can make your slides just work a little bit better. Okay, so with that, what we've done here is we've taken the value start slide plus 1 and clamped it between 0 and the length of the slide list. Now we could, I'll tell you a quick trick here while we're on the topic of clamp. There's actually a couple others called max and min. We could have used minimum to tell it, it basically, I believe, right? Minimum, because we want it to be the max value. So if you have a minimum set and it's constantly going up, it will never go past that minimum that you put in. And max does the same thing, but in reverse, right? So if you put max 0, but you have a value input of -1, so it becomes -1, it's going to choose 0. So it clamps it, but using only these two values. But I think clamp is just a little easier to understand, so that's why we're using it in this case. And what's nice is we can now take it down to here, and so we'll go and drag this up into the value slot. And then we're going to move this over here. I like using this if because I can move stuff around very quickly. And then I can pull this down here, duplicate the whole entire clamp, and then we can grab this one by the minus symbol and then thumbstick it onto the plus symbol, which replaces it. And now we can delete this if statement. Okay, so maybe a little more complicated than I said it was going to be, but now we're really done and it won't break. So we fixed any potential bugs. And yeah, that's awesome. So now we just need to make the script for the control that sends events to this, the forward and backward event, which is a fairly easy script. So I'm looking forward to showing that. So let's maybe take a quick moment to talk about the slides and how this is going to work. Because for my show tomorrow, you might also be thinking of something like this, where maybe your presenter notes don't change for several slides. Like maybe you're clicking slide, clicking slide, clicking slide, but you need your notes to stay the same for those slides. For instance, we're doing an award show and we're going to say this is the like HZTV award. And then we want to announce that award. So then the next slide is the person in the world that we're announcing. And then the next slide is the next one and the next one. But the entire time, the presenter notes is telling you which slide you're going to. And in fact, I might even go in and add some like highlights to make it very clear where they're at in their notes, which is just kind of like basically you'd run into one of these and you would say change the color to yellow. So you'd run to the very beginning of your presenter notes and say set color to yellow. So you do color equals yellow, and then afterwards do slash color, which will remove the yellow. And then I just remove that around through this plus symbol series to create that. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions about how we do slideshow controls, or if you didn't really understand that, to kind of really maybe explain it a little bit better, imagine I wanted to have my presenter notes stay the same for this first couple slides, I would duplicate the presenter notes, say 2 times, and then I would bring up my slides right here and here. And so now I have the control notes for the first 3 slides as my presenter notes. And so it'll be like, welcome to the Vidyuu Awards show. We're so excited to have you. Please take your seats. Welcome back to the Vidyuu Awards show. And then it goes back to the default slide, but the entire time my notes for how to use the controls stay the same. Totally doable. I'm going to delete that for now because I don't need, that's not what we're going to do, but you could do something like that or the other instance. And so hopefully that helped explain it and how to do it. If you have questions, don't hesitate to ask. Always happy to help. And then you're going to have access to this script in the Essentials bundle as well as looking at it from this video. Okay, so we've done the slideshow control. Now what we need to do is create the control card. And so our control card is actually running the return script right now. So we need to start by grabbing the return script, which is over here. I use this script as the basis for most of my grabbable objects. So we just grab this, duplicate it, bring it over here. And then when we open it up, you'll see it's already set up to remember the origin position, the origin rotation, and it checks when the object is released by a player. It has options for instant and delay. Very, very powerful script by default. And now at the very top, we're going to rename this and call it, okay, slide control card. And so a quick trick when I'm working with scripts that already have stuff in it, like this return script, is I just like to look through and see that, okay, it's using this event name return, so I don't want to use anything with the return in it, and it uses object released and world is started. So what I'm going to do is put all of my new stuff, everything that's really mine, I'm going to put above the when world is started, just so that you can kind of see it as like 2 separate sections, like this is mine. And so you could even go to your values tab over here and comment and like say below is return script. Voila. And like that, we know that everything below that is the return script. On our events tab, if we scroll down to controller events, we're going to see right here, we have button 1 and button 2. If memory serves me correct, button 2 is your top button on your controller and button 1 is your bottom. I don't know why, but it is. I guess it's because they're labeled A, B, and A is the bottom one. So I guess it makes sense. But anyway, when button 1 is pressed, or should we do released? I kind of like the idea of doing released. If you're just pressing it, it's going to be basically the same. But if you're like holding down and you're like, wait a second, I gotta think before I let go. So I like doing released for that reason. It's like, oh no, I accidentally pressed it. Wait, just don't let go until just, and we're on. So let's go ahead and do when button 2 is released. And we're going to do when button 1 is released. And I'm stacking them in this reversed order because I know button 2 is forward and button 1 is backwards. And you might be thinking, well, there's 2 different controllers. Well, these represent the both buttons on both controllers in the relative position, so bottom or top. So now we're going to go to the top here and we're going to send event to object. That's what happens when the button is pressed. And if we go back to our variables tab, we can add a new variable for our object controller. So we'll call this control, confirm, and we'll reference that here under self. And the event we're sending is going to be the forward event. There it is. And then we'll duplicate this here and select backward. And we're done. Believe it or not, that was literally it. Super simple. Can't wait to try this out. So let's go and create my stack nicely. I like to move this up, scale this down, snap it, beautiful, snap it. And then we're going to move this over into our area over here that I've designated for it. There we go. Nice. Love it. So that's all set up. And then over here, we just need to reference that on our card. So under object return, scroll to the very bottom and select slide control card. So now we have that same script, but different. And also, if you want to change it later when you're using this, you can change it from instant to delay, and then it uses this delay value. But we're going to leave instant on. And then we need to reference our controller. So let's go get that. And then if you press forward and hold on your thumbstick, it'll open up real fast. Okay, there's pyramid B, which is our controller, and referenced. Yep, perfect. And we're going to need this one more time. So let's actually bring this panel with us to the back side. Slide control card, reference, pyramid B pill, boom, into the empty slot. And we're done. So I have 2 controllers for myself and for my person who's on stage. And we just need to test it out. So let's go ahead and script, stop, reset, and play. I'm a little bit nervous. Despite like knowing this is going to work, I'm also like, what if it doesn't? Okay, so we press the up button to go forward. Hey, and it worked. Nice. Everything works. Yeah, 3 dots are on here as well. They're on there. And if I hit the back button, it goes back. If I hit back a bunch of times, it doesn't do anything. If I press forward a bunch of times, it doesn't do anything. It's clamped very nicely between those values. Oh, interesting. Because I had pressed forward, let's go fix this. This is an easy fix, I think. If I press forward a bunch of times, then I press backward, it seems to have gone too far. Is that possible? Oh, I know why. I think I, yeah. Okay, one small bug. Yes, I love finding bugs. Okay, finding bugs are great because means that less issues for less, for people in the future. So I love that. What we've done here is we've clamped it with the length of the slide list. Remember how I told you it starts at 0? Well, we were going to the full length, but the full length doesn't exist. So say right now the length is 2, but the second value is actually 1. And so I was going 1 past. So what we need to do is actually length of slide list minus 1. And so we can actually just duplicate this. I'm going to move it into this new param slot, grab this length of list, put it right here, and then just drag that up to there. And then we just replace this here with that, and we're done. Okay, so if you didn't follow that, what I was doing was moving it into a minus symbol, and it was making it a little bit easier by using this new param slot. Now it's cleared. Kind of like how we used the if earlier. Nice. Okay, so let's go double check that works the way I intended it. So on stage, press the forward button, press it again, press back, and it works perfect. Flawless. Oh, I love that so much. I'm dreaming right now, right? Like we just basically built a slideshow. I know it doesn't have like pictures, but you do technically have emojis, but you could probably come up with a system similar to this that could use pictures, like based off this. And if you do that, I would love to hear about it because that would be so cool to see. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. This is going to be in the Vidyuu Essentials bundle. And we'll see you in Horizon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!